Well, moving on to the next question.
Yeah.
As you suggested, whenever people say something that might be fuel for a hate crime, such as a
Yes.
leader or any person who has a lot of influence.
Yes.
Well, can we blame it on the mainstream media? Does the mainstream media's ineffective handling of the situation affect or impact the communal harmony?
Okay. You have put it very mildly. Ineffective handling, you said. No.
Okay.
The mainstream media, as we see it happening in India, is actively collaborating with forces of hate to spread hate in India. Okay? And this you can see everywhere in the world. Because what happens is any authoritarian leader will first take control of media because they need that the propaganda machinery to propagate that hate. Okay. Now, if you take, for example, what happened during this pandemic, okay, uh, how one particular group was targeted, and if you have seen certain TV channels, the way they, I don't know what to say. I mean, the way they called it as Corona Jihad. They said that Muslims are, spreading Corona as a sort of a jihad in India. But, you know, that happened and we still have Corona and we are today the third country in the world having the maximum number of cases. Nobody would like to talk about the incompetent handling, if I may call it, because for certain reasons, even recognizing the fact that Corona was very much prevalent in that was put off, that was postponed because the political masters had certain agenda to fulfill. Okay, so in fact, there was a video clip which was being circulated during the Rajya Sabha just few days before the lockdown was implemented in a very reckless manner, if I may say so. What happened was in the Rajya Sabha, MPs were reprimanded for wearing masks. And they were said that this is not going to be allowed here. Please remove your masks, they were told. And we had mega events being held. Okay. But what happened was, see, I'm not, I don't intend to defend any particular group or any particular thing. It was highly irresponsible when this pandemic was already spreading in India. It was highly irresponsible for the Tabligh Jamaat to hold such a conference in the first place in a confined space where thousands of people were coming from all over the world. Okay, that was highly irresponsible. But then it was also irresponsible of the government to have permitted it. Why did they permit that such an event? They should have not given the permission. And we are having today, such events taking place in different across the religions. Okay, uh, I mean, there are congregations gathering in temples. There are congregations happening in churches. There are congregations happening everywhere. And there are political meetings held, marriages being performed of top political leaders where a lot of people come. Okay, all this is happening. But what happened was the mainstream media played a very, very bad role in this, played a role which actually, led to a whole lot of complications. And, I can relate to you a very personal experience that I had because my sister and brother-in-law were diagnosed with corona and they were in her hospital. And when they came back, my sister came back first. She got discharged first, and she came back. She was all alone in the house. And when she went to dry her clothes on the terrace, one of her neighbors, started abusing her in communal slurs, using communal slurs, and saying, you are spreading corona everywhere. You people are terrorists." So she started crying and she came down and she didn't tell me this. When I called her, she was crying and I insisted, "Tell me what happened." And then she told me this is what happened, and my life is impossible. I can't even throw garbage outside. She tested negative consistently, and she was discharged from the hospital. Not only her, even her landlord and landlady were treated very badly by the neighbors. When these people were taken to the hospital, they surrounded the house and they told them that throw their things out. You cannot allow them to come out. And the landlords were not permitted to even step out the house or throw their garbage outside in the garbage cans outside. Okay, this was the kind of thing. Then I posted it on social media. I posted it on Facebook. I said, "Is this what we have become now?" And there was a phenomenal response to that. That I would say is the real India. That is the diversity of India. That is the the unity in diversity across religious lines, across caste lines, across everything. People rose up in one voice. And the commissioner personally called me and he said, "I'm really sorry about what happened." And he sent an assistant commissioner to warn the neighbors, saying that please don't do this. It has nothing to do with religion. So this is the beauty of India. There is also ugliness, but as a society, we are bound to have, like, we, even as individuals, we have some negative aspects to our personality. We have positive aspects. But I have a lot of faith and belief in my country, and I sincerely believe that our country has more good than evil. So this will pass one day. And here, the mainstream media is entirely responsible for propagating this kind of hate. If you listen to some people like, I don't know how we can even call that gentleman a gentleman or a journalist. I don't want to name anybody, but we have seen what kind of hatred is spewed on those, on the on these channels. But then there are also journalists who are talking the truth. Okay, here I don't mind mentioning a man like Ravish Kumar. But then what happens? A man like Zakir Naik comes around and says, no, Ravish Kumar will go to hell because he is not a Muslim. I mean, you see, every community has its bigots, okay, has its hate mongers, okay, has its fanatics. So what we as people should do is we need to identify that and we need to fight against it, whether it is within our community or whether it is within any other community. Because it is the diversity which makes us what we are. Okay, that's the beauty. It's a beautiful mosaic, which got so many colors. Imagine something which is just black and white. Okay, how plain and drab it will look. It's the colors that make the whole world beautiful. So I would say, but fortunately, on the one hand, the mainstream media is completely sold out. But if you see, there is another media that is coming out. There are e-journals that are coming out, e-newspapers that are coming out. There are, there are several online news portals that are coming out that are speaking the truth. Okay, and they are spreading the good news, the correct news is being propagated by them. Okay, so there is a clash going on, but I'm sure that ultimately the people of India will prevail, and we will overcome whatever the unfortunate things that we are witnessing today. Okay.
Question. Mehran, back to you.
Yeah. So, sir, when India released its annual crime report last year, more than a year behind its schedule it was. And even with that schedule, certain pieces of data were conspicuously missing. Like they did not mention the religious hate crimes, but they mentioned only the leftist hate crimes. So, do you think the actions like this create a sense of vulnerability and fear among the minorities?
Why do you want to talk about the crime data, Mehran? You can just look at what is happening with the investigation into the Delhi riots.
Yes, sir.
Yes. People who are out there in the public view and who are captured on camera shouting divisive slogans, communal slogans, exhorting people to attack somebody, they are nowhere figuring in the list of the accused. And who's figuring in the list of the accused? Those who are peacefully protesting over there. Okay? A pregnant woman is locked up in prison for months without bail. Right? So, see, let us not talk about all these things because it is bound to happen in an authoritarian situation. Okay. Today, unfortunately, India is going through a very difficult phase, one of the most challenging phases in its more than 7 decades of existence. It's much more challenging than the period of emergency. Okay, and the complete the edifice of the democracy is slowly and steadily crumbling, and we are seeing how the institutions that are supposed to be the bedrock of safety and security for the people are also buckling down and capitulating before the powerful. So I don't think I mean, this is a reality that we have to face and we have to live with, because selective, data that is being projected, or selective information that is being spread. These are all, hallmarks of a society that of a structure of governance which is authoritarian in its nature. Okay, so there's nothing. I think we need to. The only way we can do it is to raise our voices against it in a democratic manner, in a peaceful manner, in a non-violent manner that our founding father Mahatma Gandhi taught us. Okay, we cannot, for that, just because it is happening, we cannot resort to violence. We cannot resort to any kind of disruptive behavior. But at the same time, we are democracy recognizes the right to protest, and I think if both Hindus, Muslims, and Christians recognize the long-term damage that is going to be caused to the foundations of our society by this kind of authoritarianism, then everybody should join hands together and question the government. Not to topple the government, not to do anything harmful to the country, but to question the government, because it is our duty to question the government. Okay, today a narrative is being developed to question the government is to question the nation. No, the nation is different from the government. The nation is different from any individual. Okay, the nation is the people of this country. Okay, the government is those people who are elected to serve this country. So they are servants of the people, and every master has the right to question the servant for what the servant is doing. Unfortunately, today the way our democracy is working is that the moment anybody wins an election, even an ordinary councillor, he becomes the lord and master of that area, of that whole place. Okay. Today, if you go, you don't have to go far. In your own locality, any prime property that comes up for sale, you will see that the councillor will be the first person to be there to take it over, and they will not allow anybody else to come and bid for the property also. And whatever price they give, the owner has to accept. As a lawyer, I've come across many instances like this. Many reports like this come about. So today they are not servants anymore, they have become the masters. So which is very unhealthy for the country, for the nation. So we need to question the government. We need to question the government as to, because remember one thing, I think, I don't remember, there was this, I think the Jewish poet in Germany who wrote this. They came after the communists. I was not a communist, so I kept quiet. They came after the liberals. I was not. Something, it goes in that lane. And finally it says, finally they came after me and there was nobody to defend me. So I don't remember the exact wording, but it's a very beautiful poem, and it's a lesson for all of us that just because it's happening to my neighbor, if I'm going to keep quiet, tomorrow it's going to happen to me, and my neighbor will not be there anymore to question me, to question that the government on that. Okay, so I need to raise my voice in support of my neighbor. I need to raise my voice in support of my friend. Whenever I see an injustice happening, whenever I see something wrong happening, I have to raise my voice. That is the foundation of society, okay, of a stable society. And if we don't do that, if we allow ourselves to be swayed by religious, caste, or communal considerations, whatever I'm saying applies equally to Muslims, because I see many of Muslims who are very agitated when something happens against them, but they support anything that happens in any other Muslim country. If it happens, like for example, the Hagia Sophia, I see many people supporting that. Okay. I asked this to one organization that spoke about, they formed some association for democracy and secularism. And I asked them, I said, your organization has its presence even in Pakistan. They said, no, they are different, we are different. I said, it's the same organization, it's the same ideology, it's the same foundations. But what happened did you talk about secularism, did you talk about democracy when Ahmadiyas were being murdered in Pakistan? They were being massacred. You did not, you kept quiet. But today you're talking about secularism and democracy. You have no moral right. Leave it to people like us, people who have always stood for secularism, who have spoken always against any kind of discrimination, we will ask the questions and we will fight. Okay. So if you believe in an ideology of hate, if you believe in an ideology of division, if you believe in an ideology of supremacy, okay, you have no right to be a hypocrite and speak about somebody else's supremacism or somebody else's bigotry or something. You first stop being a bigot. You first stop spreading your hate messages, and then you talk about other people's hate. So whether we are Hindus or Muslims or Christians or Dalits or anybody, we have to rise as one and raise our voice against any form of cruelty or any form of oppression or any form of injustice or any form of discrimination that happens anywhere in our society. Okay, I may sound very sorry if I sound very sermonizing or something, but I'm speaking from my heart, and that is what I strongly believe. I don't mean to preach here. I don't mean to sound very patronizing or anything, but I sincerely believe that we need to take a stand in society. Because without that, humanity will be facing a deep crisis. Historically, if I may just add one small point. See, historically, if you see, every time right-wing forces have raised their heads and come to power, the world has been taken on the brink of extinction. Take pre-World War II, for instance, Germany. What was happening over there? What was happening in Italy? Right? Now, today, what is happening in this world? What is happening in the US? A man like Trump. What is happening in Brazil? A man like Bolsonaro. What is happening in China? A man like Xi Jinping. What is happening in Russia? A man like Putin. All authoritarian, leaders who believe in perpetuating the stranglehold over the people. Okay, they may give economic development, but which is concentrated only in a few hands. Okay, and they are all oligarchs who don't believe in democracy, but they exploit democracy to come to power. And that is what is happening today throughout the world. And today we are standing on the brink of extinction because with the kind of nuclear weapons that are there everywhere, if today we have a world war, I don't think the world will survive. I don't think we will be alive anymore. And I think the planet Earth will be completely destroyed. And which anyway we are gradually destroying by, through our
Global
environmental degradation that is happening in the name of development.
And moving on to the final and last question for today's session,
Yes.
which is, how do you think that the hate crimes can be reduced in today's society?
See, I'm a mediator, a professional mediator. Okay, I believe in dialogue. I believe in resolving conflicts peacefully by talking to each other. I think what we need to do is reach out to each other today. Today, for example, if Muslims are being perceived as a very violent community who believe in violence, who believe in supremacy of their own religion, who believe in forcible conversions, I think we need to reach out and remove those misconceptions from the minds of people. I think all the communities need to reach out to each other, and most important thing is we need to fight for the survival of secularism in this country. We should not allow secularism to be compromised. We should not allow the equality, the liberty, and the fraternity that is preached by our constitution to be compromised in any manner. Okay, everybody in this country is equal, be he Dalit or Muslim, or be she whether it's a woman or a Dalit or a Christian or a gay, anybody. Everybody has rights in this world. Okay, they are all. If you truly believe in God, you should believe that God created everybody. Okay, whether it is, if you're indulging in any kind of phobia, whether it is xenophobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, any kind of phobia, you are not being true to your God. You may call that God by the name of Allah, you may call that God by the name of Lord Muruga or Lord Ram or Jesus Christ or God or anything, but that if you believe in God, then you believe that there is only one God, correct? Multiple gods. One God could not have created Anirudh, and another God could not have created Mehran. Okay. So there was one entity, if at all you believe in creation and other things. Okay. So you have to believe that there is one God who has done all this, right? You may believe in his different manifestations. Okay, that is what Hinduism does. Okay, you may believe that he had a son. That is what Christians do. You may believe that he is Ahad, Khul Huwallahu Ahad, we Muslims say. Okay, he is one. He was neither created, he neither begets nor he is begotten, whatever it might be. But that entity is only one. Okay. So if you believe in that entity, you cannot hate something that he has created. Right? See, today the concepts of even crime and punishment have undergone a vast change thanks to advances in neuroscience. Neuroscience has shown that a person is a criminal because of the way the brain is wired or because of some chemical imbalance in the brain. So today we are talking about restorative justice, not retributive justice. Okay, we are talking about treating criminals so that they come out of that criminal mindset and start thinking like human beings. I mean, like the regular people. Okay, so today a criminal is created by society. Okay, if you're subjecting a child to all kinds of deprivation and ill treatment from the childhood, the child's brain undergoes a transformation. So the child grows up being a psychopath or a sociopath. Today we are talking about these developments that are happening in science. If offenders or criminals cannot be really blamed for what they do, because they do it because that is where the way their brain is designed, and they can be treated for it. They can be cured for that. We are making advances in that. Okay. So how much I am a psychopath, I myself may not know. Okay, because there is one part of my brain that dominates my thought process. Therefore, I appear to be as a normal human being, as a normal person, as a rational person. It makes me a rational person. But if some balance somewhere goes wrong, I lose my rationality. So I become irrational. And I may do things which I myself don't know why I'm doing. So when we are reaching that level of understanding of the human psyche and of the human brain, where is the question of hating anyone for what he or she believes in, or where he or she comes from, or how he or she looks? Does it really make any difference? So we need to rise above that. We need to have a dialogue. We need to talk to each other. We need to start teaching empathy in our schools. Okay, we need to start teaching emotional intelligence in our schools and colleges. Okay, enough of teaching just, how to make computers and how to make rockets and how to make cars and how to make buildings. We need to teach how to construct society. Because without a stable society, where is the question of all these things existing? And what is the use of all these things existing? This time, I think we need to start changing. We need to start changing our education itself. We need to start changing how we think and how we look at things, because there's always a different perspective that is available. And that different perspective may not necessarily be wrong just because it doesn't fit into yours.
So that was such an eye-opening statement and suggestion made by you, and I would be lying if those words didn't touch my heart. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. And so, guys, that's it for the Let's Talk Social episode 3, and we'll be here with you soon with another episode. And until then, goodbye.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Crescent Retreat Society, and hit the notification bell for more updates on upcoming episodes of LTS and other seasons that we have.